In this video, I'm going to show you how to replace the radiator on your Acura MDX. Located under the hood, let's get started. We're going to start by removing this cover, and the way we're going to do it, we're going to be prying up and sliding it out. So we're going to start by popping it out, then we're going to move to the middle, pull up on this, and get it out of the way. Next, we're going to remove these two clips. I'm using a clip puller to get them off. Get the second one, and now we can just pry on this and get it out of the way. Next, we're going to remove these three clips. It's going to be this one, and this one, and we're going to be using the same tool. Now that we have those clips out of the way, we can simply grab this piece and get it out. And slide it out of the way. Now we're going to be removing these 7 clips across the front end of the vehicle. Using the same tool that we used previously, we're going to remove these 3 clips. Next, we're going to remove these 4 clips on this side. Next, we're going to make sure that the vehicle is cold, and we're going to open the radiator cap. And now we can drain the coolant. Here on the front left, using a 19mm socket, we're going to remove the tire. Remove the tire and do the same on the other side. Next up, we're going to move on to the inner fender well, and we're going to be removing these 3 Phillips screw heads. In this case, I'm using an electric screwdriver. Moving to the opposite side of the vehicle, we're going to be on the inner fender well, removing these 3 Phillips head screws. Moving on to the bottom of the vehicle, we're going to have 2 10mm bolts and 2 clips right on the front of the right of the vehicle. With a 10mm socket, we're going to remove the 2 10mm. Next, we're going to remove the 2 clips. Moving on to the front of the vehicle, we're going to be removing these 4 10mm bolts. In our case, this one's missing. If you have it, there will be a 10mm bolt. Just remove them. Next, we have these 3 clips. Using the same tool, we're going to be removing those. Now we're going to move to this side of the vehicle. There's going to be 2 10mm bolts and 2 clips. We're going to be removing the 10mm bolts. Take them out. Now we're going to remove this Phillips head screw. And now we remove this one. Now that we have those out of the way, we can simply pry these down so we can get to our drain plug. So this right here will be the drain for the coolant. Before we turn that, we want to make sure we have a bucket underneath to pick up our old coolant. Simply just turn it and it should start draining. After it's done draining, we can simply just close the drain plug. Just screw it in. And now we can move out to the top. Now that we have our clips and bolts out of the way, we can simply just grab the corner of the bumper and pry it out. Do the same on the other side. After prying the corners of the bumper, you should simply grab it in the middle and pull it out. Just like that. We're gonna be removing this bracket to give us more room to remove the radiator using a 10mm socket. Break them loose. And take them out. Slide it out of the way and do the same on the other side. Now that we have the radiator brackets out of the way, we're gonna be moving this beam. So to do so, we're gonna be removing these three 10mm bolts using a 10mm socket. And do the same on the other side. Now we're gonna be removing the other 10mm bolt that's right above the battery to remove the beam. And do the same on the other side. Next up, we're gonna be prying on the clips that holds this harness in place. And to do so, I have a small pry bar. We're gonna wedge it in between and pry it out. Next, we're gonna do the same on the next clip. Using the same tool, we're gonna pry on the cable and pull it out. Same goes for this one. Next, we have this one. Do the same thing. And move the harness out of the way. Next, we have one more of those clips right over this area, right next to the battery. We're gonna use the same tool and pry on the clip. Now that we have those bolts out, we're gonna be lifting up on this beam and moving it out of the way. One thing to note, make sure you put this in a secure location. This is the radiator cap because we're gonna be reusing it on the new one. Simply grab it and slide it out. Next, we're gonna remove the reservoir hose, and for that, I'm gonna be using a little pry tool. Simply slide it over here, put a little bit of pressure, and slide the hose out. Next, unclip it from here and move it out of the way. Next up, we're gonna be unplugging these two connectors. Start with the top one, pry on the tab and slide it out. Next, we have this one, do the same thing. Now you can just push those out of the way. Next, we're gonna be unclipping this connector the same way we took the other two. Simply pry on it. Slide it out. After unplugging it, we're just simply gonna grab over here and slide the whole connector out. Just like that. Move the connector out of the way to give it room. Next up, we're gonna be removing this upper radiator hose, and for that, we're gonna be clamping on this. I'm gonna be using a set of needle nose pliers. Simply slide it in, put some pressure, rotate it so you can have better access. And now simply just squeeze it and move it out of the way. Slide it inwards. Just like that. Depending on how long this is being on, sometimes this could get stuck. One thing I like to do, I grab a small screwdriver and being very careful, we're gonna wedge it in, kind of to just break the seal. And now we're gonna spray some silicone right in there. And as you do that, I like to grab the small screwdriver and just go around. This should break the seal for ease of removal. Now twist it. And once you get that, simply just slide it out. Moving on to this area, we're gonna see the upper radiator hose, and this will be the bottom. So this one will stay on the vehicle. Just simply move it out of the way to give you room. I like to just bend it downwards. Now we're gonna be taking off this right here, which is the bottom radiator hose, the same way that we took off the other one. Simply grab a pair of needle nose pliers and slide it out. To remove this hose, I'm gonna be using a 90-degree angle pick. And what that's gonna do is gonna help me break the seal off to remove the hose. So like I mentioned previously, being very careful, you wanna wedge it in. You wanna get yourself some sort of lubricant and spray it in there. Move the pick around the hose. Being very careful not to tear it apart. Once you have that, start twisting on it, and that should break the seal. Now simply slide it out and take it off this clip. Next, we're gonna be unbolting the AC condenser from the radiator. And for that, you're gonna find 4 10mm bolts on each corner. We're gonna start over here with a 10mm socket. We're gonna remove this bolt. We're gonna be doing the same on the other side. Moving to the 2 bottom corners of the AC condenser, we're gonna grab the 10mm socket. We're gonna bend this down a little bit to give us access to the 10mm bolt. Take it off. Take it out. Moving on to the opposite side, we're gonna be unbolting this 10mm bolt to give us access to remove the AC condenser from the radiator. Doing the same thing, we're gonna be removing that 10mm bolt. Take it out. Now we're gonna be removing this hose using the same pair of pliers. We're gonna be grabbing on the clip that's on the hose, and we're just gonna slide it out of the way. Using a 90-degree angle pick, I'm gonna be very careful going in here, prying it open. Like I said, be very careful not to rip the hose. Get yourself some silicone and spray some in there. That'll help to break the seal. Grab the pick and go around the hose, being very careful not to break it. Once it feels like it broke loose, simply wiggle it side to side and pull it out, just like so. Next, we're gonna be moving this bottom hose around this metal bar. In this case, because I'm removing it still attached to the radiator, we just have to work it out. You're gonna bend it down to give you access, so you're able to lift the radiator up and out of the way. Now we're gonna be pulling the radiator out, and as you pull up, you're gonna be moving that hose out of the way and out of that bar. Make sure it doesn't get caught, and make sure you don't break any wires. Slide it out. And here's the old radiator. Now we're gonna grab the new one, and we're gonna have to swap over a few things. Let's go over to the bench. So over here on the bench, I put both radiators side by side. We're gonna be swapping over both fans and the sensor and the bottom hose. For that, I find it easier to put them side by side so you don't miss anything. First, we're gonna start with this fan. It has 2 10mm bolts on top. Let's remove those using a 10mm socket. Now we can simply unplug this bottom connector by prying on it and sliding it out. Now you should be able to grab your fan up and slide it out. Now we're gonna be removing this fan, and the same as the other side is gonna have two 10mm bolts. Using a 10mm socket, we're gonna remove those. Now that we have those bolts out of the way, we can simply grab the fan and slide it out. Just like that. Now we're gonna be removing the temperature sensor that goes on the radiator, and for that we're gonna be using a 17mm wrench. Simply put it over and loosen it. Take it out. One thing to note, there's a little O-ring. We want to make sure that that is in good shape. In this case, we're going to be reusing it because it looks good. Next up, we're going to be swapping over our bottom hose, and for that, we're going to do the same thing we did to the other two clamps with the needle nose pliers. We're going to squeeze on it and move it out. To remove the hose, I recommend using a 90-degree pick, and what we're going to do, being very careful not to break or rip the hose, we're going to slide it in here. We're going to use some sort of lubricant. We're going to spray it. We're going to go around it just to break that seal. Make sure you go around it and being very careful not to break the hose. Once you have a little bit of the seal broken, simply grab it and twist it side to side. And now, slide it off. Now that we remove all the parts that needs to be transferred, let's get this out of the way and put the new one on. Now that we have the new radiator on the bench, we're gonna be installing everything back on it the opposite way it came out. Remembering the orientation of the hose, we're gonna be installing it the same way on the new one. Slide it in. Use a pair of pliers, squeeze on the tabs. And slide it in. One thing I like to do, especially if you're reusing the hose and the clamps, I like to put it right where it was before, and you can do that by looking at kind of the mark that it leaves. That way you know it has a good seal. Now we're ready to install the temperature sensor. As I mentioned previously, you want to make sure that this O-ring looks in good shape. In this case it does, so we're going to be reusing it. Simply slide the sensor in, start it by hand. Using the 17mm wrench, we're going to snug it. Now we're ready to install the condenser fan. Like I mentioned previously, the same way it came out. Slide the fan in. And now you're ready to install the two 10mm bolts that go right on top. Start those by hand. Get them snug. Now we're ready to install the radiator fan. We're gonna grab the hose, just lift it a little bit, and now you're able to slide the fan in. Make sure you get the bottom piece inside, like so. Now we can plug in our sensor. Make sure you hear that click. Now we get to install the two 10mm bolts that go on top of the radiator fan. Start them by hand. And get them snug. Now that we have the radiator fully assembled, we are ready to go back to the vehicle and install it the same way it came out. Before we install the new radiator in place, we want to make sure that we know the lower radiator hose goes under this bar and up this way. Now we can simply slide the new radiator assembly the same way it came out. Moving the hose. Start sliding it in, being very careful not to break anything. Remember that hose has to go around that bar, so just simply push it down and work it around it. Make sure you go around the bar. Now that we have the radiator hoses in place, we're gonna simply install them back. Make sure you push all the way. It will bottom out. For the reinstallation of the clamp, we're gonna be using these locking pliers. In this case, the needle nose. We're gonna just lock it in place, and we're gonna slide it back in place. Work your way slowly. Make sure you don't damage the hose or the clamp. And like I mentioned, when we put the radiator together, you want to try and align the clamp to the same mark that it had on the hose. That'll help to make sure it seals. This is in case you're reusing this. Next, we're going to put the hose back on the bracket. Simply line it up and slide it in place. Moving on to this small hose right here, we're going to be sliding it in. Make sure that you bottom it out. And using the same locking pliers, we're going to be installing that clamp back up. You're going to squeeze it, and we're going to slide it. Try your best to align it with the mark that was previously on the hose. Align it in and install the clamp. Now we're going to go ahead and install the AC condenser to our radiator, making sure we align the holes. Just lift it a little bit and align the holes, starting by hand. We're going to snug it up. Just make sure it feels tight. This is plastic. You will break it if you over tighten. Do the same on the other side. Make sure it's snug. Pulling down on this small trim, we're going to be putting the bottom bolts. Start by hand and get them snug. Like I mentioned previously, this is plastic, so just be careful. Doing the same thing on the opposite side of the condenser, we're going to be putting the bolt. Start it by hand and snug it up. Now we can go ahead and install the reservoir hose that goes right here. Simply slide it in place. Make sure you bottom it out. And slide the hose on this clip right here. Now we're ready to install the upper radiator hose. Simply slide it in. Make sure you bottom it out. Lock it in place. Slide it in, and like I mentioned previously, do your best to align the clip to the mark on the hose. Now we grab this beam and move it closer so we can start plugging stuff in. Just like that. From this point, we can start plugging in the fans. Now we're ready to plug this in. Make sure you hear a click. Same goes for this one. Slide it in place and plug it in. Now we can move the hose that goes to the reservoir and click it into place. It simply slides in. Now we can grab the beam and slide it in place. Make sure you align the holes. Now we're gonna go ahead and start the 3 10mm bolts by hand. Snug them up. On the opposite side, we got the 3 other 10mm bolts, starting by hand. Now we can go ahead and snug them up. Now we can install the 10mm bolt that goes right here. Simply start it by hand and snug it up. Now we get to install the 10mm bolt that goes right over here, opposite side of the other side. And snug it up. Now we're ready to clip the harness back in place. Simply lighten up the holes and clip it on. Moving to the next one, clip it on. Clip the next one. Go to the next one and clip it in. Moving over to the clip that's next to the battery, we're just simply gonna slide it into place. And clip it on. Now we can torque down our bolts, and all of these get torqued down to 13 foot-pounds. Also remember the one that goes in the back of the bracket. The same goes for that one. The same goes for the bolts on this side. Remember, 13 foot-pounds. Remember the one that goes in the back of the bracket. Now we get to install the radiator brackets. Simply slide them in and line up the holes. Start your bolts by hand. Snug them. The radiator bracket gets torqued to 13 foot-pounds. And do the same on the other side. Now we're ready to install the bumper. We're gonna be sliding it on the top, making sure it goes on the bottom of the headlight on both sides. Gonna start in the middle, align the holes, and start putting all the clips on. Start by putting the center clip to hold the bumper in place. Install the clips, make sure the holes lined up. Install the other two. Moving to the side of the vehicle, what we're gonna do is we're gonna be clipping this onto this plastic bracket. Grab the bumper, slide it over. And clip it in. And we wanna make sure we do the same on the other side. Moving on to the inner fender well, we're gonna be putting the bolts that go over here. And for these, it's the ones that have the flat ends. Simply slide them in and start it by hand. Snug them up. Do the same on the second one. Start it by hand and snug it up. Do the same on this one. Start it by hand. And repeat this process on the other side. After you do the same thing on the opposite side of the fender, we're gonna be installing the bolts that go underneath and the clips. We're gonna start with this corner, grabbing the 10mm bolt that goes here, line it up, and start it by hand. snug it up, install the clip, make sure you line up the holes, and now install the 10mm bolt that goes right here. Start it by hand and snug it up. Now we install this one, start it by hand and snug it up. Next we're gonna line up these holes and install the clip. Now install the 10mm bolt that goes here, lined up the holes and start it by hand. Now you're ready to snug it up. Now we're ready to install these 3 clips. Make sure you lined up the holes and push them in. Now install this 10mm bolt. Same way, start it by hand. Snug it up. In our case, this one's broken. The bolt snapped in. If you have it, there's a 10mm bolt that goes there, just like the other 3 holes. Now we're gonna install this clip. Simply lighten up the hole and push it in place. Now we're gonna install the 10mm bolt that goes right here. Simply start it by hand. Install this back up. Hold this in place. Install the 10mm that goes right here. Start it by hand. And snug it up. Now we have this clip. Line up the hole and install the clip. Now we install this one. Line it up. And click it in place. Right here we have the Phillips head screw. We're gonna install that one. Same way, start it by hand. And snug it up. Now we install this 10mm bolt that goes right here, lined up the holes and start it by hand. Snug it up. Now we're ready to install this one. Start it by hand and lined up the holes. And snug it up. Now we can install the tire back on. Start your lug nuts by hand. And snug them. Now we're gonna torque down our wheel to 80 foot-pounds in a star pattern. And do the same on the other side. Now we can refill the new radiator. Remove the cap. I'm gonna be using a funnel that connects to the radiator to the top. Gonna lock it in place and now we can put our coolant in. Using the recommended coolant mixture, we're gonna be filling up the coolant system. Pour it into the funnel. You're gonna repeat this process until it's full. After the coolant system is completely full, you want to run the vehicle until it gets to temperature. One thing to do, you want to let the fans turn on. That way you know that there's no more air in the system. After that happens, you simply remove your funnel, put the stopper. This is going to go back into the bottle. And we can now install the cap. One thing I recommend after doing this job is going on a short drive and checking for leaks. Now we can install this piece Slide it in. Find out the holes and install the clips. Line up the hole. And install your clip. Line it and push it in. Same for this one. Now we install the intake tube. Simply slide it in place, line up the holes, and install the clips. Now we can install this cover. Start in the middle, slide it under the latch, line it up, slide it into place.
When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.